I'm Michelle.
And I'm Lucy. And Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
I hope you've all had your sprouts boiling since last Thursday. You've got to boil them to mush. That's the English way. Put your sprouts on several days earlier, boil them to a sort of green sludge. No, everyone jokes about that. That's how they used to be cooked, really. They were all squeegee.
Yeah, well, they used to cook them that way because they used human excrement on the fields. It's a leftover from the Tudor period. Everything had to be boiled because... roasted sprouts are lovely.
Oh. Yeah.
Have you never roasted sprouts?
I've never roasted a sprout.
So...
Right, that's my Christmas sorted.
Yeah, you cut them in half, steam them for about 5 minutes so they open up a bit, and then you put them in the oven on high so it roasts them and they get all caramelized at the top. It's really delicious.
Okay. Right, that's our Christmas dinner sorted.
I can't believe as a vegan you have not had roasted sprouts. Interesting.
I sometimes buy sprouts sometime in the rest of the year thinking, well, sprouts are nice. Why don't we eat them in the rest of the year? And then they sit in the freezer till Christmas.
So you're getting old sprouts anyway, which also don't taste as fantastic.
Yes.
No, do it with fresh sprouts.
Okay.
Yum.
Right, today's episode is a bit different from our last ones. We're still doing a pub quiz, a Christmas quiz, but it's going to be about what ifs.
Yes. And we did not make them up. We got them from our listeners.
I made a couple of them up.
Oh,
I've come clean. I put my own name on it.
Okay, and I will come clean that we actually looked at them beforehand because they were going to take some thought.
Yeah.
We didn't. It was going to be pretty pathetic if we were like, I don't know, and just went silent as we thought about it. But we didn't discuss them, so This is our discussion time.
No, you do have to give them some thought, and nearly all of them come down to the fact that the English Reformation wouldn't have happened as it did happen. That's the common denominator for the answers of all of them.
Yes.
So, they're all in the trusty box. And the first one is from Melinda Hornton, and it's, what if Henry VII had funded Columbus?
I thought of something. I don't believe that Henry would have had the same benefits that Isabella and Ferdinand did, in that I don't think the Pope would have agreed to separate the world in half between the Spanish and the Portuguese.
You don't think so?
No.
Because he's a Spanish Pope, isn't he?
Yes.
He's the Rodrigo Borgia.
Yes.
Yes.
And they had him in their pockets, mostly because they were paying for most of his stuff. They were sending him a ton of money, and Henry was frugal. So, yeah, I don't think that agreement or the papal decree, that was it. Was it a papal decree or a bull?
It's the Treaty of Tordesillas, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't think that would have happened. So, while he would have gotten ill-gotten gains from the people by plundering, I don't believe he would have ended up getting quite as much as what the Spanish got out of it.
Do you think that Columbus would have still have got slaves? Because we know he ignored Isabella completely when she was saying, don't do it. But they did have slaves in Spain. They didn't have slaves in England. I'm stressing this because it's not often England gets the moral high ground, and we do have it here.
I don't know. They didn't respect the authority as soon as they were out of sight. So maybe they just would have taken the slaves and sold them elsewhere before coming back to England.
They could have come via Portugal or Spain, dropped them off.
Yeah.
And then come back and said, slaves? Us? Heaven forfend.
No, we don't have slaves. No slaves. And we don't have to claim that gold either because we didn't sell it here. We'll just...
Mind you, would he have found gold? Because if he'd gone from Bristol, he'd have ended up in Newfoundland like Cabot did. And I don't know, is there much silver and gold in Newfoundland?
I have no idea. I know the gold rush was in British Columbia. It's on the western side of Canada. I don't think there was much gold in the eastern side of Canada. Before we hammer that down as no, we don't, I'm going to Google that. own country. Was there a gold? Mm-hmm. Oh, isn't that funny?
Is it riddled with gold?
No, not at all. At least back then, like there was a limited amount of prospecting in the 1800s, but there is a sort of gold rush, and it started in 2020.
Right.
I guess once you have better machines, it's not in the creeks. They're having to drill it out of the mountainside.
So Columbus would have gone over to Newfoundland, thought there's nothing for me here,
And kept on going.
apart from the slaves that he's sneaking back to Spain.
Yeah. And the fish.
Well, forget it. Go home and think of something else to do.
Yeah.
The other thing was
Interesting.
Henry VIII had no interest at all in exploration and...
Why not? Was it because he thought everything had already been explored? Or shall we wait until next season to discuss that?
I don't know, I just don't think it was his thing.
Yeah, because I don't have any information on that.
No.
None.
If Columbus did find vast quantities of gold, I think Henry VIII might have suddenly seen the point of it all.
Yes.
Like I thought, actually,
Or at
exploration
least
is my
Wolsey
thing.
or Cromwell would have.
Yeah.
They would have definitely been, you're spending too much money, especially since Henry spent all of his dad's savings in the First War, didn't he?
He got through pretty much the whole lot in the first 4 years.
Yeah. So, yeah, they would have gone, oh, we need that money.
Yes.
If it had been Henry VIII's time.
Yeah.
Henry VII totally would have gone for it. I don't know why he didn't with Columbus, because he did have
He
to
didn't,
have it
because
once.
he didn't trust the maths or the geography.
Right.
He asked his advisors, and they said, no, the world's bigger than that.
Yeah, right.
This is all wrong. And he was quite right. So...
Yeah, England, I don't think would have ended up as rich as Spain and Portugal did.
No.
No.
No, you've hit the wrong part of the American continent and might have had to give up.
But I wonder if they would have settled there earlier.
Oh, maybe.
If it wouldn't have taken till Elizabethan times to really start the push to settle.
Yeah, and then they might have been able to explore further because they had a base to go from.
Yeah.
I'd imagine there's
And
fewer
it's just-
hurricanes up there as well.
Oh.
Or have I got that?
Fewer, yes. They don't all hit that far north. But it does happen.
Right.
In fact, there was one just recently. That was pretty bad. Good question.
Okay, next one. Just seeing if I had anything else interesting to say, but it turns out no, I haven't. Right, next one is... this is a good one. What if Parliament had refused to accept Henry VII as king after Bosworth? And that's from Jill Osmond. I asked around about this. I went on to the Rexipod Discord and asked John from Primetime about this, and he's doing much the same, reviewing and rating British Prime Ministers.
Okay.
Well, worth a listen. I like Primetime. And also a lot of other people then piled in from other Rexipods. So it's very useful.
Awesome.
I'll quote what John from Primetime said. Parliament did historically have some powers separate from the monarch, such as the ability to regulate taxation. And there's potential precedent in the Saxon Witan, which was arguably the precursor to Parliament, and it had the power to choose the next king, as exercised in 1066, when in the aftermath of the Battle of Hastings they chose Edgar the Etheling as king.
Yes.
William the Conqueror quickly forced them to reconsider. I think the number one question is, did they have an alternative claimant? And the number two question is, did they have an army? Without the two of those, I don't think they could have reasonably opposed Henry VII, at least not with any degree of success.
Yes, because we did have, with Edgar the Atheling, he lost because William had the military.
Yeah.
The next in line would have been either George's son, who was again a minor, or John de la Pole,
Yeah.
the Earl of Lincoln.
But yeah, they could have had Edward Now, I have a special friend, Plantagenet, with John de la Pole as regent.
Yes.
If they couldn't face another child king, which they probably, after the fiasco of Henry VI, they must have had a good
Just
think
said no,
about
never
whether they
again.
wanted a child king. And do they want one that apparently couldn't tell a goose from a capon either?
Yes, that's the other thing. I mean, it's not like they'd say, oh, Henry will be fine if we don't pick him. Henry's there with a military as well. John de la Pole would have had to have gathered the military. We already know that that didn't work. But it didn't work because Henry had been on the throne for a while.
Yeah, I wondered if maybe he could gather together the soldiers who'd fought on Richard's side at Bosworth and say, come on, we're going to have another go. Round 2. But because Henry moved the date of his reign back a day before Bosworth, they were already traitors, so they may have been thinking twice about that.
Yeah.
And they were fighting for an existing king. Would they have fought for another usurper on top of the usurper they'd just got? I don't know. I think it was more unlikely.
Yes. I don't think they would have chosen somebody else.
Greg from Cardinal Numbers podcast, I said everyone piled in, said Innocent VIII probably would have endorsed whoever seemed more likely to win in the end. And my guess for that would be Henry. And he did issue a papal bull ratifying Henry's right to the crown. And he threatened to excommunicate anyone who rose against him. But that was after he'd won Bosworth, when there wasn't a viable immediate threat to the throne. If there had been an alternative, would he have just gone with the alternative? I wondered whether he would have gone with the highest bidder.
Whoever gave him the most money.
We haven't done Innocent yet, but I do seem to remember he was quite an impecunious pope because he got a special grant because he didn't have enough money. We did come across him on his deathbed trying to persuade Borgia to hand over all the papal money to his family.
Yes, I remember that now.
Yeah. So he obviously had a bit of a soft spot for money.
Yes.
I then got another message from Greg from Cardinal Numbers. I'm thinking he would have been happy to take a bribe that didn't hurt his overall standing. So I think in the scenario where Parliament was opposing Henry, that would have resulted in Innocent holding off approval until enough cash was splashed to show Henry was a loyal son of the Pope. But there would not have been any real danger of Innocent endorsing whatever underdog Parliament came up with.
Right.
He says just a silence with a hand held out and a meaningful cough.
Yeah. And would they have time to collect the taxes in order to send that money? Henry would have continued fighting for the throne, I would have figured.
I'm wondering about Parliament. It might actually have been able to refuse Henry, but would it have done so because he had been crowned on the battlefield?
Yes.
On top of a hill near the battlefield by one or other of the Stanley brothers, batting it backwards and forwards as to which one. And then he was crowned again in Westminster before Parliament was convened. So once Parliament appeared, it was a done deal.
Yeah.
But since it's a what if they had refused? What would England look like then? They'd have had to come up with a new candidate.
So I'm guessing you're right. It would have been Edward, my special friend, with regent.
And I think that regent would have to be John de la Pole because he wouldn't take no for an answer, I would think.
Yes. Goodness, but then they might have been in the exact same situation with Henry VI.
Yeah.
Sort of a non-useful king for his entire life. Oh, goodness.
I think we're looking at the Wars of the Roses carrying on.
Yeah. With John de la Pole trying to actually become king.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet John de la Pole may be taking on the Richard Duke of York role.
Yeah. And who would be Warwick, the kingmaker? Lovell?
I was thinking of Lovell, but yeah.
Francis Lovell might try to take that over?
He didn't have he didn't come across as having the forceful personality that Warwick had.
No, not at all. Or would Henry just have continued to wipe out their forces and get the throne in the end anyway?
I was thinking that. He's been building up to this pretty much since he left with Jasper. when he was 14.
Yeah, and he wouldn't give up.
I don't think so.
His mother definitely wouldn't have given
No.
up.
So, no, it's all right, Mum. It's not going to happen. Yes, it damn well is.
Oh,
Get back
no,
in
you're
there.
not. Yeah.
He might have called on France to help, Henry, in which case we're then
Yes.
looking at a continuation of the 100 Years' War as well as the Wars of the Roses.
Yeah. We know Burgundy wouldn't have supported him.
No.
So there was money coming from Burgundy for England, for the Yorkist side.
Yeah. And where you've got money, you've potentially got an army.
Yeah.
Henry could point out that his victory at Bosworth meant that his claim had been validated by God.
Yeah, right by might.
Yeah, he'd have probably married Elizabeth a lot quicker. So quick, get up that
Yes.
aisle.
Yeah, you're not marrying anybody else.
No.
You are not marrying John de la Pole, which was probably far enough for the Pope to have given a dispensation.
Yeah. Yes, quick, we're getting married. You know, nobody wants me here. I've got no right
Yes.
to be here. We need to get married quickly. Yeah, Simon of the History of Venice podcast had a good idea. He said, how about Parliament proclaims Elizabeth of York as England's first Queen Regnant instead?
Ooh.
Quickly changing the titulus regius in the process. So instead of marrying, Elizabeth and Henry would have massive fight for the crown. It would have been like Stephen and Matilda.
Matilda, yes, Empress Matilda.
He also goes on to suggest that Caterina Sforza should take the crown, not because she's any right to it, but just because she's brilliant.
Awesome. Good call. Good call.
Yeah, I think we got that sorted then, haven't we, Caterina Sforza?
Yeah, I don't think Elizabeth has the same drive to be king, queen. Really. Otherwise, we would have heard more from her as queen. As she was.
She might have been pushed into it.
Yeah, but she doesn't have the same forceful personality. I just don't see it. I mean, she let her mother-in-law step in and make most of the decisions.
Well, that's why I'm wondering whether she would have been malleable enough to be pushed into it. I'm thinking of Lady Jane Grey.
Yes.
If she had enough powerful people around her saying, no, you've got to do this,
Yeah.
is she in a position to say no? I don't know.
I don't know either. Good question. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Right, next one.
Yes, next one.
This is from Carrie McRobb. What if Elizabeth of York hadn't died giving birth to her last child and lived another 10 to 15 years? These are really good questions.
Yeah. Well, I think that, for one thing, they would have continued to try having children, which would be sad. But I don't think Henry would have gotten quite so money-grubbing, paranoid, scared.
Yeah, I think scared is the number one.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Yeah, I was thinking about the effects on her husband and the effects on her children. Because we looked at, our last episode was Henry's kids, and we know that Prince Henry was absolutely devastated. And it seemed to catch,
Yes.
well, I mean, if a mother dies, then it's always going to get the children at the wrong time, isn't it? But
Yes.
they all had their reasons for being mortified by it.
Yeah, I just think that would have made a huge change. Henry VIII probably wouldn't have been held so close.
Yeah.
Maybe he would have got normal training instead of that pin you in a room and don't let you go anywhere just in case you might get ill or injured or influenced.
I think Elizabeth might have said, come on,
Yeah.
let's treat him like a normal boy.
Yes. Yes, he's our last son, but you need to train him. You cannot leave him in a room like this.
And what effect would he have, if she'd lived on until Henry VIII's reign, what effect might she have had on him? I mean, if she'd lived that long, she could have said to him, no, you married Catherine for better or for worse. You damn well stay with her.
Yeah. Ooh. Good point. Yeah, I don't think she would have let the divorce happen.
I think she'd have had something to say about it, wouldn't she?
Yeah, and would Henry have listened, though? I mean, he was fairly well developed by the time she passed away, which means his personality may have been set by that point.
Yeah. We'll see next season whether he was actually looking for a mother substitute. Not a mother
Yes.
substitute, but his mother substitute. Specifically Elizabeth. Maybe if she'd been there, he wouldn't perhaps have idolised her so much and be searching for something, a marriage
For
that
that
was
love
similar.
Yeah, he'd actually have a romantic
I
love
think he
instead
was
of-
very romantic, wasn't he? He was too romantic. That was his trouble.
Yes. Yes, it was.
I think romantic and narcissistic is not a good combination.
No, not at all.
Okay. Right, next one. Oh, these are by someone called Me.
Me.
And it comes in two parts, so but they're quite similar. I've been very
Okay.
greedy, haven't I? I've taken two. The first one, what if Henry VII had married Margaret of Austria? Well, you'll probably know more about this from Margaret's side.
Well, first it wouldn't have happened.
I mean, that is the main problem with the scenario. She just said, nope, not
Nope.
doing it.
And I know why. If it had happened, if she had not had the say that she did, because she's the one that said no, it was not political. Well, it was in a way, but
But does it imply
brother-
that Maximilian wasn't that keen on the alliance? Otherwise, he might have been a bit more pushy, mightn't he?
yes, he was definitely not for the alliance.
Yeah.
But if Philip had managed to do it without his brothers, I think we probably would have seen a bunch of headbutting. Because she was very strong-willed. And she was good at ruling. See, this is hard because we haven't discussed her yet, and I don't want to give too much away.
We sort of have. If you've done it before Christmas.
Oh, yes, okay. Okay, then I can just say whatever. I think she would have tried steamrolling him. Hey, she was good at being a queen, but when we got to Philip of Savoy, or Philbert of Savoy, she just took over. And she was good at it, and she continued in that line. She continued being a ruler for the rest of her life.
That would have
Even
been a
though she
shock for
wasn't.
Henry, wouldn't it, after Elizabeth? To have
I-
somebody who's completely
Oh,
the
see,
opposite.
that's not where I thought the headbutting would happen. I thought that would happen between her and Margaret Beaufort.
Ah.
I figured she's young enough that Henry would have been like, I have a lovely young wife, and might have doted on her. The way most older men dote on their very young wives. That he might have listened to her more to try to keep her happy. I think it would have been Margaret Beaufort and her that would have started scrapping.
And what if they produced a male heir? Where would that have left Prince Henry?
Well, Prince Henry would have still ended up being the crown. Or
Do you think he would? Because he hasn't really got anyone behind him, has he? If Margaret had a boy child, she's got the might of Burgundy behind her.
and
I can't see young Henry
the
being able to
Holy Roman
compete
Empire.
with that unless he got the backing of Ferdinand or Louis. And then we're looking at a war with England being the battlefield. With the two brothers,
Yeah.
each with their backers. What do you think the reaction of the English nobles would have been to that alliance? Do you think they'd been for it?
Yeah. She would have brought in trade agreements with Burgundy, Flanders, and the Holy Roman Empire. She would have brought a huge dowry. Maximilian never provided it, but Philip always did. He gave her 300,000 crowns for her dowry to Philibert. That's a lot of money. It's more than the 80,000 that Margaret of York got.
Yeah. What did he
And
get?
she was still being paid her dower for being the Dowager Princess of Asturias in Spain. So she would have had the dowry from, and she still had income from France, being the queen. Or not the queen.
Yeah.
So she would have brought money with her, which is another reason why Henry would have loved her.
Yes. Oh, yes.
She's-
She's been.
Yeah, she's bringing external income from an external place. She's not taking that money from England. She's adding that money into England.
Do you think the nobles would have thought there might be too much intrusion from foreign powers? Mind you, if they thought that, they wouldn't have agreed to Catherine of Aragon
Yeah.
marrying. But then she's not queen, she would be princess
Yeah.
initially.
That would have been interesting for Catherine, actually. That would have been lovely for Catherine, because they were extremely close.
Oh, they knew each other in Spain, didn't they?
Yes, and Margaret taught Catherine how to speak French, although Catherine never really picked up French. For some reason, she struggled with languages. For such an intelligent girl with everything else. But they were very close. Apparently, they wept for hours before Margaret had to leave Spain. So that would have been lovely for them. They would have been back together.
Do you think they'd have made a good match? Or do you think she'd have felt so resentful about having to marry this man that she'd constantly said no to?
Ooh, that's hard. I don't know if Margaret fell deeply in love with each of her husbands because she fell in love with the personality, or she was one of those people that just deeply loved people she was around.
Or makes the best of the situation.
Yeah,
I'm married to this person, I might as well love him.
possibly. That one's a hard one to pick out. Because she did. She deeply, deeply loved each of her husbands, all three of them. But then she also deeply loved her brother, her father, her nieces and nephews, Margaret of York.
Yeah.
She just seems to be one of those people that the people around her she just genuinely loves.
Well, would Henry have been able to keep out of wars in the way that he has done? Because now he's allied to the Habsburgs. If
Yes.
Maximilian says, right, we need to go to war, is Henry going to do
Henry's
it?
too slippery to get pulled into that, I think.
Yes, I mean, he did get enmeshed in Ferdinand, but I think Ferdinand and Maximilian are very different characters, aren't they?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It would be a heck of a lot harder for him to dance that tightrope of allegiance, because he's got Catherine for Arthur. Well, no, Catherine for Henry at this point.
Yeah.
Except that's not 100% yet.
No, they probably by this time he might have repudiated her.
Yeah. I think Catherine's life would have been a heck of a lot easier, because there is no way Margaret would have stood for Henry treating Catherine the way he did.
She's not going to row up and down the river laughing, is she?
No, not at
Yeah.
all. She would have dove in there and said, fine, if you won't take care of her, I will.
Also, I think Catherine would be more likely to be brought back as Henry's potential wife because of Henry VII's plan to spread himself across Europe. So he might think, okay, I've got the Habsburgs, I need
Yes.
Spain, we've got Scotland.
Yeah, I think it may not have changed much for Henry VIII, because she would have just ended up being a dowager queen, but it sure would have changed Catherine's life.
She might have been able to soften him a bit as well, soften his policies.
Yes,
Both of them, Henry VII and Henry VIII.
she was a very generous character.
Okay, well, part 2 of this question is, what if Henry had married Juana the Mad?
Oh,
It wasn't likely to happen because Ferdinand was so much against it. He's worried that Henry would use the marriage to oust Ferdinand and rule in Juana's name.
which he probably would have.
Yeah. And I can't see Maximilian going for it either because that would have given Henry power over Spain.
Yeah.
Again, it might have had a big effect on Prince Henry if his dad and Juana had had a son. Again, the Habsburg boy taking precedence over the York boy.
Yeah, and would Catherine have ended up marrying Henry?
Maybe
I'd
not.
like to say that Catherine would have yet another ally, but Juana was not an ally. She, at this point, she was so beaten down, I think.
Well, it did sound as if
goodness.
Henry didn't believe she was at all mad, if we want to use the word mad.
No.
Once she was away from Philip, and Philip was dead, but Ferdinand, and the whole situation, it might have been a lot easier for her with her sister.
There by her side?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. I don't know.
And again, with the Spanish Queen on the throne, it seems less likely there'd have been a Reformation in England.
Oh, yeah. Although, no, actually. That's a very good question. One of the things, this is a spoiler because we won't have done Juana yet. Juana was known for her not quite heretical beliefs, but behavior. She was not really that religious.
Oh.
And that was a very, very sore point with Isabella.
Yeah, I should imagine it would be. Yes.
Oh, yeah. So would there have been a Reformation? I don't think she would have cared one way or the other.
All right.
This is based on only 2 sources, though.
Yeah.
Because I haven't read the rest of the books. But in both of them, they say the same thing. That she was punished for not conforming. So I don't know that she would have stopped Reformation. I don't think she would have cared one way or the other, to be honest.
It would have done England a lot of good because with the 2 families united, the 2 countries united effectively, England would be able to benefit from the South American wealth.
Yes.
So I think a combined England-Spanish Habsburg Empire would have been able to take on France and the Holy Roman Empire. I think it'd be an entirely different matter for England. It opened up so much.
And with Juana being the secondary person, England would have had more power over Spain.
Yeah.
Whether or not Spain would tolerate that, I don't know. But...
Well, Castile didn't have the thing that Aragon had, did they, about...
no, they didn't.
You're no mightier than I am. Yeah, and
yes.
the king having to say, yeah, all right, you're as good as me. I'm not no better than you.
Yeah, but a lot of that was Isabella herself. I don't know if Castile would have pushed that hard to keep Juana.
You think they would have just sort of
bypassed her
dumped
for her son?
Effectively, yeah.
Yeah, because of Henry. If Henry started telling Spain how to be, I think they might have that would have started a civil war in Spain. Because it almost did with Philip.
What we're seeing, really, is that everything worked out for the best in this best of all possible worlds. Each of these things seem to end up with, well, the Wars of the Roses would come back. Oh, the 100 Years' War would come back. Oh, there'd be civil war between
civil war in
so.
Spain. Well, not Spain, Castile.
So everything worked out fine, it turns out. Right, next one. Right, Melinda Horton asks, what if Arthur had lived?
Oh, we've speculated about this so much already.
Yeah, there's a few questions sort of similar about that sort of thing.
Okay, we'll start with you because we started with me on the last ones.
Okay. Well, he had been raised to be a king. He'd had the marches to practice on. He'd led councils. He'd taken decisions. Henry was thrown into being a king completely blind, wasn't he?
Yes.
So that's got to be an improvement. And assuming that Arthur was more like his dad, all the money that Henry VII had tucked under his mattress would have been safe in his son's hands. He probably wouldn't have blown it in the first 4 years.
Yeah, I think so.
I did wonder whether Prince Henry would have been happy to play second fiddle. Apparently he'd been earmarked for the church before.
Yeah,
which I hadn't realised. But
he was earmarked for the church when there were 3 brothers.
Yeah.
Not when there were only 2.
I don't know what sort of bishop he'd have made.
The other boy? He would have been the same as any other bishop that spends all their money and carouses. Yeah. I think that would have just been him.
But he wouldn't have been so mollycoddled, again, imprisoned, if you want to prefer. He might have been allowed to joust and do all the things he liked doing, like dancing with his jacket off and all these other things. So he might not have been as he might have sort of burst out once as soon as his dad died in the way that he did.
Yeah. And would Henry have really resented it? He was brought up that he was going to be the second son. Would he have resented? It would have been expected. And this way, he could have done his honorable thing and go to war over and over and over again.
Yeah, might have
looking for that honor and glory.
I was just thinking about his narcissistic personality, whether he would just think, it should have been me.
Oh.
I think it's quite significant that in a question about Arthur, we're talking about Henry.
Yes, again. Mostly because we don't have a lot of information about Arthur.
No.
Unfortunately.
He didn't have time to make his mark.
No. But I don't think we would have continued the civil wars. I can't see Henry doing that. I can see Henry hoping for battles in other countries. That's a good question. Would Arthur have followed Ferdinand's advice and gone to war as many times as he did?
Would he have seen through Ferdinand more than Henry did?
Because he was definitely trained better, which means he would have been in on these council meetings with his father saying, never trust him.
No.
Don't trust anybody. Whereas Henry just sort of blithely trusted that Ferdinand had his best interests at heart, which he didn't.
But then again, Henry had Catherine of Aragon whispering in his ear.
Piping in his ear. Yeah, but, and Arthur would have as well.
Yes, he would have done.
Ooh.
Whether he'd have listened.
I think Arthur would have been more independent. Wouldn't have relied so much on his wife. Because he would have had time. Like, it was years between him getting married and his father dying.
Yeah.
So the honeymoon period would have been over. They would have been a bit more practical with each other. He would have had his father saying, oh, now Ferdinand's doing this. Oh, now Ferdinand's doing this. So he would have gotten practical experience of seeing his father deal with Ferdinand and avoiding getting into wars.
And Arthur and Catherine would have been ruling the Marcherlands together. Yeah, yes. As you say, he might not have listened to her as much, but they would still be a team.
Yes. I think honestly, England would have done better if Arthur had not died.
Yes, I think everyone agrees with that one. Yeah, I think anything that knocks Henry VIII out completely from the scenario.
The best possible scenario.
Right, another one. Right, this is from Slothinator, or Slothinator, I feel I ought to say, in English accent. Otherwise known as Umberto from the So You Think You Can Rule Persia podcast, which is very good. Listen to it. What if Henry VII had only had girls? How would he have prepared for the succession?
He would have set up his eldest, which would have been a shame because Margaret was not a good ruler.
No, she wasn't.
No, she wasn't.
She picks the wrong men, for one thing.
Yeah, and then lets those men tell her what to do. It would have been a disaster. Okay, instead of not having sons, let's think of it in the way as all of his sons died. So in order, that would have left him with only Margaret, who is already married to James of Scotland.
I mean, if we're thinking about not having sons, then he might have had second thoughts about marrying her into Scotland. In fact, he would definitely have had second thoughts about marrying her into Scotland. Because effectively, he's saying to Scotland, yeah, come on in, take over.
Yes, which would have caused havoc.
There
would have been rebellions like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, even the Cornish would have been against that. They wouldn't be saying, nah, it's miles away.
So I think we have to look at it as his sons have now passed away.
Well, we can look at both. Happened? We can look at both possibilities.
Okay. So, we'll start with he didn't have any sons.
Well, he's got to decide what to do with Margaret. Does he marry her to an English noble, which might set up bad feeling between the nobles, or does he marry her abroad? Could he marry her to Edward Plantagenet?
They were far enough. No, they would have been cousins.
Well, that's no problem, is it? I mean, it never has been a problem.
True. True. Well, it was a problem in England. It just wasn't a problem elsewhere.
It's not a problem for the Pope, it seems.
No.
I thought that would solve all the problems. You're joining the Lancastrians and Yorkists even more. It would take away the main threat to the throne.
Yes.
I think it would have been the ideal solution.
They would have been second cousins, too. They wouldn't have been first cousins. Because Elizabeth of York was cousin to Edward Plantagenet. He would have been much older than Margaret, though, and would he have been willing to place his daughter with somebody older who might rule her rather than the other way around?
Yeah, I can't see Edward ruling her, but the people around Edward might.
So
I didn't come across it anywhere, and I thought, but this seems perfect. So he could have married her to a foreign ruler, but not James.
And would she have been different if he hadn't had sons? Because then he would have thought to train her. Eventually you'd have to give up on the idea that you don't have a son and you need to start training this oldest girl.
It would have to be under the same situation as Mary I.
Yeah, but she had a king consort. I wonder if Henry would have demanded it to be a prince consort. I wonder if he would have started that instead.
Because you can't say, okay, you're going to be equals, because they won't be equals, because one's a man and one's a woman.
Yes. And one's a princess and one never was. Well, of course he wasn't a princess, but he wasn't a prince either.
It could end up like the Georges, they would be far rather be in Hanover than in England. The person she marries might, like Philip, he didn't really want to be in England, did he, Philip II?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But part of that, I think, was because he didn't like his wife.
Yes. Oh, poor Henry. And what would have happened if Henry had died before Margaret was married or had reached the age of majority? It depends if Elizabeth of York is still around. She might be able to act as regent.
Or Margaret Beaufort.
Yeah.
She was only alive for a year after, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, Henry, in this scenario, Henry dies earlier.
Yes.
I had written here, if Elizabeth weren't there, I think we could guess who would step up to man the fort.
Yes.
But a regency of a queen must be the weakest of all possibilities, mustn't it?
No
You've got
kidding.
a young queen. I don't think it would be long before she found herself shunted off the throne.
Very quickly. Yeah, I don't think that would have been feasible. Somebody else would have the throne. So John de la Pole is already gone.
Yeah. Francis Lovelace disappeared.
Is gone. Who is next in line other than Edward? Who is next in line after Edward? Oh, no. No, we're
Edmund
looking at
de la
John de la
Pole.
Pole's. Edmund de la Pole.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness,
That's
no.
not going to happen, surely.
Oh, talk
No.
about a disaster for the entire country. The deluded man.
I think Henry would just have had to try and get himself remarried and get a male heir as quickly as he
As
could.
quickly as possible.
I mean, God knows he tried, didn't he?
Yeah, would he have gotten rid of Elizabeth of York? Would he have repudiated her like his son did in order to get a male heir? I didn't think that before.
Think so. I can't. We don't know these people, but I just can't see him doing that.
Are you sure?
I mean, Henry VIII did it because he was a complete and utter bastard, but I don't think Henry VII was.
Yes, but he would have had the same fear.
Yeah.
You have to have a male heir. You have to have a male heir. Would he have repudiated Elizabeth?
And, yeah, I don't think Henry, on his deathbed, saying, I decree that Margaret should follow, I don't think that's going to make the slightest bit of difference, because, yeah, that's what happened with Henry I, when he said, I think my daughter Matilda should be queen.
Yes.
And they all went, yes, we'll do
of
that.
course she will.
We'll do that. Is he? Oh, he's gone.
Quick, he's gone.
Quick, get on the phone to Stephen.
Yes. And they'd already gone through the 100 Years' War. Would they have tried that again so soon after the 100 Years' War and the previous example of Matilda? No. No, I don't think that would have worked.
Would a foreign power have moved in and tried to take over? They thought, oh, great, England's weak. Would Scotland have tried to move in?
Probably. And would they have been accepted? Possibly.
I'm not sure. I think it was so ingrained that Scotland's the enemy.
True.
But then again, it's so ingrained that everybody's the enemy.
Yes. Maximilian would have tried it on.
Yes, because he had the right to, didn't he? Because
Yes, he
Perkin
did.
had told him.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
Maximilian would have stepped in and that would have been the end of it. He would have married her for the claim and he would be king.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happens to Bianca Maria on that score. I think she might
I don't think he'd care.
meet with a little accident. Be sent back to her uncle. Said, no, I
Yes.
don't want it after all.
Yeah.
God,
This one comes with a
complicated.
kingdom and a lot of money that Henry has stowed away. 100%.
That one came with a lot of money, but I've spent it now, so you can have
Yes.
it back.
No, I won't pay back her dowry.
No.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
Right, another one from Melinda Horton.
Okay.
What if Warbeck was definitely a son of York? And it brackets, take your pick of which. I don't think it matters which, really, does it? But
Ooh. I don't think that would have changed anything.
don't you think so?
No.
I felt it would be absolutely devastating for Henry.
Well, it would have been... Well, he wouldn't have been happy, but...
No, I don't mean... I meant for his reign and his marriage.
You think that because he was legitimately
If it was proved...
a Yorkist, if it was proved that he would have gotten more supporters, I don't think he would have. I mean, England was tired of the War of the Roses. That's one of the reasons why I think it didn't happen. He couldn't get support. Not within England. He might have gotten more support elsewhere.
It depends how much people in England believed it was him, and whether they just thought, well, you know, we've done this now, so we'll stick with this. They would automatically get precedence over Henry, but Henry had won it by battle.
Yes.
Well, and Henry's marriage to Elizabeth wouldn't be that trump card anymore, because
There was a
Elizabeth would
male
no longer be heir
Yorkist.
to the York line.
Well, yes, she would have. She still outranked him. No.
No,
If
he's
you
a
put her as
boy.
one of- Yes, sorry.
Yes.
That was
Would
bad.
would she have spoken up for him if it was definitely proved that he was her brother? Would she have done so and undermined her husband, or
And her children.
she-
She already had children by this time.
yeah? But could she deny her brother? Oh, it's a real Sophie's choice, isn't it?
Ooh, yeah. Either my brother or my children.
Yeah.
Pick the children. I think she would have picked the children. Because if he was king, he most likely could not let her children out of prison. Because there's now this alternate claimant, and you'd be continuing the War of the Roses, just with different people.
I suppose so. Yes. Gosh, I was thinking that Henry's Yorkist support would crumble. Because a lot of it was based on Richard supposedly murdering the princes in the tower. And if they popped up and said, no, we're all right, it's okay.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
But it was so far into Henry's reign.
Yeah.
I think she would have. I think she would have sided with her children. Otherwise, they're looking at doing to her kids exactly what they were already doing to Edward Plantagenet.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if you are my brother, I'm not going to let you do that to my children.
If she believed that that's what he would do. There may be people who were yearning for the stability of Edward's reign, Edward IV, and thinking, well, there's his son.
But Henry hadn't gotten quite so grasping and dire yet.
No. Would the Spanish have... I mean, the Spanish didn't back Perkin at all. They said he was a joke, but
would they, if he was legitimate?
If he was real, they might think, well, we have to go with the legitimate one.
Especially since we know that the Yorkists were supported by Burgundy, which means they would not have been supported by France. So Spain would have a better chance of an ally against the French.
Yeah.
One that actually joined them in wars, because Henry didn't.
No, he kept saying he would. Yeah, I'll be up there in a minute. Won't be a minute.
Oh, I got busy.
If Edward did become king, Edward V, that would make Richard III and Henry VII's reign just a sort of blip in the Edward IV line, wouldn't it?
Yes.
And again, no Henry VIII.
Yes.
So there's a lot to be said for it.
Yes. That one's really hard to figure out. There is no steadfast way that would have been done.
Well, this one's quite similar. There's David Whitley. He asks, what if Lambert Simnel / Perkin Warbeck had been successful and we were all confidently referring to them as Edward VI? Sixth or fifth?
Okay, if Lambert Simnel
It would be Edward V.
Edward V.
Or Richard IV, because all the history books are written from their side's perspective.
If Lambert Simnel had been successful, John de la Pole would have taken over.
Yeah.
He would have just kicked him out.
Yeah. Yes.
If Perkin Warbeck had been successful, England would be bankrupt for all his promises to his supporters.
I think Perkin would have been gently put away as well, and we'd find that Maximilian had moved in.
Yes.
Saying, he promised it to me.
Yep.
Look, I've got it written here on this bit of paper.
Yep. Yeah, it would not have been good for England either way. Well, I don't know. We don't have enough about John de la Pole to know whether or not he would have made a good king, but he definitely would have ousted Lambert Simnel.
Yes.
An accident would have happened.
Yeah, I think a certain amount of displeasure and melancholy might have kicked in.
Yeah. So it's good for Lambert Simnel that he failed because he ended up staying as a king's servant. He survived. He wouldn't have survived if he had won.
I don't think so. And we know from the Irish thing that the Irish just dumped him quickly.
Yes.
No, nothing to do with us. No. I mean, if we're talking about the historical perspective, they would stop being called pretenders and Henry would be the pretender.
Yes, true.
Well, obviously there'd be no Tudor dynasty.
Nope.
You just have the Battle of Bosworth, which would be another forgotten battle. In so many battles, you don't remember them all, do you? And then the Tudors would have disappeared from the history books.
Yes.
And, of course, the Reformation wouldn't have happened in the same way.
Yeah, and we can't actually say that the Reformation wouldn't happen.
No, it just wouldn't happen for such a weird reason.
Yes, or maybe as definitively.
With the king saying, no, this is my religion now.
Yes, so everybody has to follow it.
Yeah, move over, God. This is mine now.
Yeah, jeez. But I don't think it would have been better for the country.
Probably not. We might have been looking at a less paranoid reign than we had with the later years of Henry.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been as stable because if Lambert took over, John de la Pole would have ousted him. So there would be more upheaval. Over time, would it have been better? I can't say.
One thing the history books would be different about is the reputation of Richard III.
Yes. All of a sudden, he was great.
Yes.
No. We finally would have had an answer that the boys died of a flu or something. Or the one brother died of teeth.
Yes, teeth.
And,
yep. Good old teeth.
Yeah. And I survived. I just happened to be elsewhere.
And good old Uncle Richard has been looking after us all these years.
Yeah, he wasn't king. He was just a regent. There was a misunderstanding. Yeah. Or he could have been said he was a traitor.
I was thinking Shakespeare wouldn't have written a play about him and he wouldn't have been the archetypal baddie over all his centuries.
Very true.
It'd have been too boring to write about if he hadn't killed the princess.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Another from Melinda Hornton. What if Catherine had gone home after Arthur died? We're sort of skirting the Arthur Catherine thing quite a lot. Well, the alliance between England and Spain was very important to Henry. We know that because he battled to have it, even though he's messed about in the middle. And we know he was reluctant to let her go. Not that he wanted her around particularly, but it's partly for the alliance, partly for the dowry.
Yes, and that she was a very good political pawn to own.
Yes. But if she'd gone back, Ferdinand and Isabella would have said, well, we want our dowry back then.
Yes. But who would she have then been married to?
Interesting. Well, for one thing, she should have been younger. She'd avoided those 7 years in the wilderness in Henry's court.
Yes.
So presumably another husband would be found for her. But she might not have been queen.
Yeah. Unless she would have been married off to the King of Portugal after her older sister had died.
What, 3 of them in a row all marrying to this one man?
Well, no, wasn't her younger sister married off to Portugal after the eldest sister died? So Catherine would have stepped into that place.
She'd have gone instead. I thought you meant all 3 of them, one after another.
No. Well, it still may have happened, but
yeah.
That's my thought. I think she just would have ended up Queen of Portugal and probably happier.
I wonder if she represented a sort of potential continuation of the dynasty. While she was around, you were saying, OK, well, she's the one that's going to continue the dynasty with first Arthur and then probably Henry.
Mm-hmm.
But if she went back, sort of flailing about a bit, looking for somebody else to take on, some other poor girl to take on Prince Henry.
Yeah, who would Henry have married?
There was Eleanor.
Oh, yeah, Philip and Juana's daughter.
That might have been a possibility, because that was mooted at one point.
Yep. I wonder if he could have married Margaret.
I don't know, what's his little fingers like?
I don't think so. Maximilian wasn't fond of a alliance with England.
No. Right, another one. Similar, well, it's about Catherine of Aragon again, but it's sort of going back a step. This is from Jill Osmond. What if Henry VII had refused to execute George, Duke of Clarence's son Edward? Now I have a special friend.
Oh.
And Isabella and Ferdinand had kept Catherine of Aragon at home.
Would they have given in eventually? That's a good question.
It would depend on the stability, how much Henry could prove, the stability of his throne.
Yeah. Ooh.
I think Henry would keep pushing, because he wanted this alliance, didn't he?
Yes. But would he have offered something else?
Well, we know Ferdinand was telling him, either you send your daughter Margaret to Scotland or we'll send Catherine, so Spain had an alternative.
Yes. Not a good one. I don't think Spain actually was an alternative, to be honest. Spain wanted somebody with force.
I don't see why Spain would go to Scotland, have a link with Scotland anyway. It's no help to them particularly, is it?
No, especially since Scotland has that old alliance with France. Would it have stopped that alliance, though?
I don't know. I think it's an empty promise.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. I like these questions.
Yeah. Well, if Catherine hadn't come to England to marry Arthur, she wouldn't have then married Henry, and he may have found a wife who'd give him lots of
little boys,
bouncing baby boys that he was so desperate for.
And maybe he wouldn't have been such a tool.
And he wouldn't be worried that thinking, oh, she was married to my brother. It's all in Leviticus, was it?
Yes. And he wouldn't have had that excuse.
Again, no English Reformation on the way it was done. There could be an English Reformation, but not in that way. No. I think there probably still would have been an English Reformation if Henry VIII had been there, because you've got people like Cromwell pushing it.
Would they have been able to push it, though? Henry was extremely devout.
He was, but he was devout up to the point where Cromwell said, you know, this dissolution of the monasteries, it's going to bring in masses of money.
Yeah, but he was devout also because his wife was Catholic. And the only reason he became undevout was because the Pope said no. Honestly,
Don't say no to Henry. He doesn't hear no.
No.
But if Arthur and Henry hadn't married a Spanish princess, who would they have married? If Spain had just said no, not sending her.
Well, there is Margaret of Austria.
There's Margaret of Austria.
There is Philip's baby.
Yeah,
Eleanor. But she's so young, though.
Is there anyone in Denmark?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, that might be the link to make.
Or
further afield.
Yeah, Venice. Keep that alum going.
That's true. I was thinking more, I don't know, maybe sort of leapfrog and go for Poland, Russia, Hungary, anywhere around there.
Well, you'd have to have a pretty good trade reason.
If Henry hadn't executed Perkin and Edward Plantagenet, he'd still have had the Yorkist threat hanging over him.
Yes.
And not just on his reign, through Henry VIII. And I can't see Henry VIII leaving Edward Plantagenet alive for very long.
No, we know what he did. He went after, a 60-year-old woman?
Yeah, and he was very quick to get rid of Edmund de la Pole.
Yes. My dad may have agreed to it, but I didn't.
Yes. Yeah, I don't give much for poor Edward Plantagenet's chances.
No, I don't think there's
and
any
Perkin
way.
as well. Perkin would have gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if he hadn't gone then, they'd have gone later.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Another Catherine of Aragon one.
Okay.
What if Catherine of Aragon had got pregnant and bore Arthur a posthumous son? This is Linda Yancey's question.
Ooh. Henry VIII would have been gone.
Yes, he would. He wouldn't have been happy about it, I don't think.
Don't you? I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, do you think he'd be happier without the responsibilities of kingship and just get on with
because then he gets to be a
strutting
playboy.
about? Yeah, that's true.
Because we were told that he didn't like to work.
No, he doesn't, yeah.
No. So now he gets to be a playboy with money from incomes from his wherever he's got his dukedom.
He'd be a real thorn in the side of his brother, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he really would be.
Constantly asking for money.
Well, the regent. He'd be a thorn in the side of the regent. Who would be the regent? Margaret Beaufort. Ooh, I wonder if Henry would be the regent.
Oh.
Oh, that would be bad. That baby's dead.
Now we're feeling very sorry for this baby that never, ever existed.
We are.
Oh, poor baby. Well, one thing, Henry VII would have treated Catherine better. She's got a role in the royal family. She wasn't just left in limbo with the rest of the...
Elizabeth wouldn't have died in childbirth.
Maybe not.
Most likely not, because they said that they would keep trying, and there were no babies in there beforehand, so I think they had stopped having or trying for children. So I think Elizabeth would have lasted a heck of a lot longer.
It could have strengthened Henry VII's position as well, because you could see the dynasty going on and on and on. You've got 3 generations then, haven't you?
Yes.
You might not have been so harassed by so many pretenders. Would Henry VIII have married her if she had had her brother's child?
No.
It wouldn't have helped. Wouldn't have helped the dynasty in any way.
Nope.
I suppose he hadn't... It wasn't on the cards at this point, was it? Because it's just after the death of Arthur. And they're hardly setting Henry up as a substitute before poor Arthur had died.
And they already have the alliance, because she is now Dowager Princess with the next king.
And I can't see Catherine necessarily wanting to marry Henry VIII. There's no need for it.
No.
It's possible marrying Henry was the only way out of her predicament, but she hasn't got her predicament now and she doesn't need to get out of it.
No, because there's no question of whether or not she gets those dower rights.
Obviously, I mean, we're sort of assuming that this child is a boy at the moment. If it was a girl... you know.
She still would have gotten her dower rights.
She would have done, and she'd probably be treated better, but in the long run, it wouldn't have made a big difference. Whether Henry and Catherine would have married if they had a girl.
I don't think they would have.
I don't think Henry would want to with somebody else's child.
Yes.
There.
Yes, I think that would have been off the market. Because one of the reasons why it was sort of acceptable to the public is because she kept saying she didn't. You would definitely not be able to say that.
No, but Lucretia Borgia did.
Yeah. Yeah.
It definitely have a knock-on effect for all those families who did so well out of Henry, at least for a while. The Boleyns, the Seymours, the Howards.
Yeah.
There wouldn't have been a role for them if Catherine and Henry had got married and they had the boy. But
Yeah, there would have been less deaths. Catherine Howard wouldn't have been executed, neither would Anne.
No.
Anne might have actually gotten Henry Percy that she was in love with.
Yes. Yeah, I like all these what-ifs. They always turn out better than...
Yes.
I think that would have been lovely.
Yeah. Every time we take out Henry VIII,
Yes.
it would have been lovely.
But if it weren't for Henry VIII, we wouldn't be doing this podcast. If we were just talking about Henry VII, Edward VI,
so?
Mary I, we wouldn't. Without Henry VIII and Elizabeth, I don't think there'd be a thing about the Tudors, would there? And they wouldn't be going back and forth all the time between Catholic and Protestant, which is what makes it so interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. The Renaissance in England still would have happened during that time period, which is why I was interested in it.
But then you'd probably look at Italy rather than England.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know if this podcast would have happened.
Well, there we are. That's the greatest disaster of all of these what-ifs, isn't it?
Yeah.
No Tudoriferous.
We'd be doing this. We'd be bored. And we'd have so much time to fill.
Yeah, my house would be a lot tidier and cleaner.
Ditto. I wouldn't have so many stacks of books that I'm currently reading through and referencing.
Right, that's the last one.
That was fun.
It was fun. Yeah, we'll do this again next year.
Yeah. We'll have to do a what if at the end of every season. If we manage to do more than 2 seasons.
Yeah, we'll whiz through Henry VIII.
We'll never get out of Henry VIII. Do you know what? I was thinking we should skip Henry VIII and go straight to Mary and Edward.
I don't think that would make us very popular with our listeners who've been looking forward to Henry VIII.
Okay, tell you what. Let's put out a poll. And if people tell us to skip Henry VIII, because I'd kind of like to, the only reason I kind of like to is because so much information is already out there about them. Whereas Mary Tudor's reign and the people around her are virtually unknown because it's all done in the reference of Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Same with her brother.
Yeah.
I mean, we know more about the Elizabeth scandals with Thomas Seymour than we do about his reign.
Yeah. I'd be very reluctant to skip bits. That's a big chunk of time that we're just sort of wiping out of.
Ignoring.
No,
Okay.
no, I like the I like your blue sky thinking, but yeah, and we wouldn't get to do Thomas More, and we do want to lay into him, don't we?
Yes, we do. You, sir, are not a saint.
Well, if we do it the way we suggested before, I'd be going, oh yes, he is. Yes, he is a saint. I think it would be an interesting way to do it. Take each half of his life or his reputation. Okay.
Well, thank you for listening.
And Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas
to everybody. And we will see you in the new year for Patreon Snippety Bits.
Goodness, 2026.
Gosh, we're getting into a rut, aren't we?
Yeah. Goodbye.
Goodbye.